Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows. I'm the director and founder of SnowPros Ski School based here in Switzerland, and I join you from, it's certainly the weather has turned much more towards the autumn now. We had a beautiful Indian summer in September, but now October has hit. The weather has really changed. There's snow on the high mountains down to about 2,000 meters around here, and the valley that I live in is currently filled with cloud. So yeah, autumn's really on its way, and that's good because it means that we can start to get up on the glaciers soon again and get tuned up for the winter. This week for episode 10, I am joined by Terry Godbout, and Terry is the guy who started the Elite Skiing Facebook page and latterly the eliteskiing.com website. Had a really great chat with Terry. He joined me over the phone from Idaho in the US where he lives, and he told me all about the issues, starting elite skiing and the extraordinary growth. There's something like 35,000 people who follow his page now, which is purely images and videos of high performance technical skiing. So it was great to chat with him and hear all about that, and that's what we're going to chat about in the first half. So enjoy this, and I'll catch you in the middle somewhere. Hello, Terry Godbout. Welcome to the Ski Instructor Podcast. You're on the phone to us from Idaho in the US, and the reason that I've got you on is because you're the founder, I guess, of this amazing, what started out as a Facebook group, this which is Elite Skiing. So welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm very well. You?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I live in Switzerland, as you know, and I live just opposite. Well, my house looks out onto a iconic set of mountains called the Dent du Midi, which are quite famous around here. And we've had snow, I think, last night down to about, it must be, I don't know, it's getting down to almost about 2,000 meters, which is quite exciting for the autumn.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I know you guys have had some snow in the US as well.
Yeah, we're in the northwest U.S., and they're like Glacier Park, which is kind of north-central U.S. On the east side, there was one town that was isolated because they had 4 feet, or probably 1.2 or 3 meters of snow in the valleys.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. Oh, maybe it's a good omen for the start of the season then.
Hopefully, yes.
Terrific. And where you live, I confess I don't know much about it, but you said you've got a number of resorts quite close to where you live?
Yes, I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is a mountain lake community in northern Idaho. We have several small to medium-sized ski areas. Lookout Pass being the smallest, which is where I prefer to ski because it's the furthest east and has the best snow. Mm-hmm. The largest ski area is Schweitzer Basin out of Sandpoint, Idaho. Then we have Mount Spokane, Silver Mountain, and a ski area called 49 Degrees North, which is the furthest west. And they're all within an hour and a half of my home.
Oh, that's terrific. So you can just pick up your skis, jump in the car, and go to whichever one suits you.
Right. Right, yeah. None of them are really alpine in nature.
Yeah. Well, are they more sort of what we call ski hills, I suppose?
Yes, yeah. Now, two of them have... They're steep enough and rocky enough that they do have avalanche mitigation efforts in place all the time. So,
okay. Well, I do for regular listeners of this podcast. They will know that I rave about small resorts. I love places that are one lift hills and stuff like that. That for me, I just think that's brilliant. So when I ever finally get round to doing this tour of the US, I'm going to be visiting all of these places. But We had I think. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, and I will spend again a lot of time this winter in a little place just up from Geneva called La Dole, and it's really only a bunch of drag lifts and one chairlift, but it's brilliant. There's no one there, family atmosphere,
right?
Got a place to yourself. It's awesome, really, really good, and I love places like that. I really do.
I refer to that as no hassle skiing.
Yeah, yeah, and everyone's friendly, right? It's great.
Right, yeah.
It's great, there's sometimes a little bit soulless, some of these mega resorts, I spend a lot of time in those as well. And,
right.
The atmosphere is different. It's really, really different. One of the things that kind of, our local, the one that we use the most for kind of beginners and stuff like that, and also some of the other areas that are linked on the Swiss side of where we are in the Porte du Soleil, is one of the things that we really, really like is that all of the ski instructors kind of say hi to each other. So you ski past another ski instructor and you're like, hey, how you doing, man? And everyone waves at everyone else. And all the lifties are friendly.
That was something that when I skied, the only time I actually skied in Europe was in '84. Mm-hmm. And I was just amazed at how interconnected the ski areas were. That's something we don't have so much of in the U.S., but I remember one spot, I think it was in France, and I can't remember the resort now, where from a high point, it looked like I could see 10 miles to the north, and there were lifts on every ridge line.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? That's really, really cool. It's true. You see them everywhere, actually. I don't know why I've only just noticed this, but I kind of, when I'm driving around here, I'm starting to see, I can see that lift from over there, I can see that one from over there, and it's just something I just noticed the other day. But yeah, no, you're right. And but that friendliness I was saying is something that's quite, I really, really value. It's nice to be friends with kind of all the other guys on the mountain, or at least on waving and hello terms. When you go to the slightly bigger resorts, so let's say I travel an hour around the corner to Verbier, you just don't get that. Like people they just don't say hello to each other. And
really?
Yeah, and I think something's lost then, like it doesn't, for me it feels a little bit less, like a community. I guess it's because they've got so many ski schools over there and not everyone knows each other. Maybe that's it, but I think you lose something in that, if you're going to these bigger places.
Well, they certainly, should acknowledge and respect other instructors, because it's pretty easy to identify an instructor.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Although, in a place like Verbier, though, like no one can tell. I don't know who can tell what. Everyone's got. If you've got 17 or 18 ski schools there, how many? There's only there's so many different variations of colours that you can wear, right? And still stand out. One of the guys, I think one of the schools there last year, they had like a sort of grey colour, and they almost blended in with the snow. And you thought, it's not very identifiable. But maybe they've changed it this year. I don't know. But I think it's quite an interesting thing. But you don't have that in the US, do you? Because the ski school is owned by the corporation or owned by the Hill. So there's only one game in town, as I understand it.
Well, in most ski areas, that's the case. In the West, the United States Forest Service actually owns most of the grounds, so everything is under their jurisdiction. And it's just a little bit easier for them to control things if the ski school is owned by the ski area. Mm-hmm. But then you get like out of Seattle, Washington, there's a mountain pass 55 miles from Seattle, and I think 5 ski areas on top of that. Now they're all owned by one entity, but it sounds like it's Verbier, where there's probably 10 to 15 ski schools up there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that situation existed in the US. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, the major resorts, it doesn't at all. And sometimes if you're just helping a friend, at times people look at you like, making a little money on the side here.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, that also happens. If you happen to go over in France, they're pretty militant over there. So if you're teaching a mate, often, you'll get a French guy come up to you and say, "Hey, are you teaching?" And that will be, you feel like you have to explain yourself to these guys, and it's like,
Right.
Look, I'm doing what I'm doing. You got a problem, go get the policeman. So so that's it exists. I guess that's a common thing that we have there. Terrific. Okay, and when you came to Europe, then, so where did you ski? Where were you when you were over here?
I think we were there 10 days. We skied Batkenstein,
Okay.
and I think there was 4 ski areas there. Skied at Sparkestein. I can't remember the others.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to Chamonix. My favorite from Chamonix was Courmayeur.
Yeah.
And Courmayeur is very weird in that it is virtually identical to a ski area in Colorado called Arapahoe Basin.
Oh, really?
Which
Okay.
is pretty famous here. And just the whole layout of the lifts, the topography,
Yeah.
just weird.
Huh?
And I went to Courmayeur before I'd ever gone to Arapahoe Basin, which is called A Basin
Yeah.
by most. When I went there, I felt like I was back in Courmayeur again.
Huh.
And then we did the Volley Blanc. Let's see, I can't remember the name of the French resort we skied at. I was pretty impressed with the variety, and the only thing that baffled me then is that was in kind of the monoski era,
Yeah.
and at that point in time, a lot of the French guys would just hike or take a lift to some point and then come straight down the hill, not make a single turn. I never understood that.
Well, we'll maybe filter that into the conversation later when we talk about the comments that we get in elite skiing, because there's a lot of that, isn't there? These guys are just going straight.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you know, we still see, I don't know whether you see it in the US, you still see the odd monoboarder around.
It's very rare in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're common where we are, but you go in the French, certainly the French resorts, there's a few still, keeping at it.
Who makes the ski? They're manufactured.
I don't think anyone makes them anymore. I think they're probably just all kind of reconditioned ones or whatever. I honestly don't know. Listeners, if you're listening and you know, get in touch and tell me where we can get a monoboard. But I just don't know why you would bother. It just looks like such a rubbish way to get around.
Right.
It's strange. Really, really strange. So were you in Chamonix before they made the Blizzard of Oz? Like the Glenn Plake movie and all those crowd came over to Chamonix in Europe?
It was about the same time.
Okay.
It's 84.
Yeah. So everything was like fluorescent colours and long skis.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. That must have been a really, really interesting time. All right, cool. Right, so I tell you what we'll do. I'm curious to know, because I just want to jump straight into this. So what you started elite skiing? It essentially started as a Facebook group. I'm curious to know what the why behind it is, and why did you start it?
Well, let me back up quite a bit then. I didn't start skiing until I was in high school, late in high school, when I was cut from the basketball team and I needed something else to do in the winter. And I'd been an ice skater, so I started skiing and really got after it, and actually started teaching in my third year, a local area where I lived, and then I went 100 miles away to Bozeman, Montana, where I went to college, and they were on a quarter system there, and I figured out that I could, with summer quarters, that if I wanted to get my 3 quarters a year in, I could take winter quarters off and go to school spring, summer, and fall.
Okay.
So, it was a very, very nice college job. And we were at a fabulous ski area called Bridger Bowl, which is becoming known and has grown a lot since we were there. It's the terrain and the snow is very much like Alta, extremely snow. it's where the term cold snow or cold smoke to describe the snow was first coined, and now a lot of areas have adopted that. But so I taught the full time for a number of years, and I was working for an Austrian ski school director, probably a 35-year-old guy from Austria, and the level of expertise that he had and knowledge, because he had been a graduate of the Kruckenhauser School in Austria. I was just so blown away with the professionalism, and it was a wonderful influence. And at that point in time, at least in our area, most of the instructors were part-time, and the American Ski Instructor Association, the PSIA, was just being formulated, and most of the people were part-time instructors. I just having this outside influence, having the influence of both the PSIA plus the Austrian influence, and then in 1968, a bunch of us that were teaching there went down to Aspen for the 8th Interski, and there it was a small gathering then. It was in the spring, and I was just blown away with what I saw from all the different countries. Not so much that I felt that anything was better than the other thing, but just the different ways that they went at things and the different methodology they used to teach people. So from there, I don't know, I've just always had this interest I often call it beyond PSIA, because here most of the American instructors are primarily and sometimes only influenced by the PSIA infrastructure. But I'm interested in what's going on around the world, and that interski thing caused me then to really follow what happened every 4 years with the interski.
Okay.
And with the advent of YouTube, of course, and I think the best one was the 2011 interski, which I think was in Austria. And the Canadian Ski Instructor Association did this terrific set of YouTube clips, a lot of which were demonstrators just kind of free skiing.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen
different speed.
Yeah, I've seen that. Isn't it the most amazing thing? That, do you know one of the and there's I distinctly remember that video because there's a roller in it, and the one of the Swiss guys comes around. I have no idea who he is. One of the Swiss guy demonstrators comes in, and he sort of comes off of the roller on one foot, lands, gets it really crazy, and lands on the wrong foot and carries on. And I was like, wow, that was amazing.
Wow.
And it was one of the inspirational things for me as well. I've been watching that video a lot. Yeah.
Every so often I post one or two of those clips to Elite Skiing, and everybody seems to enjoy it when I do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's great video that.
I think the Americans at the outset were too focused. It was almost like the final forms in ice skating at that point in time. So focused on minute movements, slow speeds, and it was just mind-numbing what they expected. And then compared to that clip that you're referring to, the Swiss guy at the 2011 Interski, just loose, skiing fast. Yeah. And I've always admired that. I don't see that from every country. I think the French are like that. Not all of the Swiss, but quite a few of the Swiss. And I really admire that trait. The thing I'm looking in the far north of the U.S., I'm only 90 miles from the Canadian border. So I heard that the Canadian Ski Instructor Association was doing what they called a high performance clinic. Okay. And that's something I'd never even heard of, and I was pretty sure if the American Ski Instructor Association didn't do anything like that. So I signed myself up to go up there and take part in this clinic, and there were 135 Canadians and one Yank, me. And it was mind-numbing. I because they have a goal in Canada. They want you to ski really well.
Right.
They want you to be able to teach, but as part of that, they also want you to ski really, really well.
Okay.
And I've been very involved with them too. So again, just taking stuff from all over the place. And then for our local ski area, guys, about 10 years ago, somebody started a Facebook page called Tips and Tricks for Instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was training director for the ski area at that point in time, and I just started posting some early YouTube clips to that group.
Okay.
And we got up to 26 people total. It's a small ski area.
Yeah.
And never had another person join. So when I started elite skiing, I used the same approach, and I think we were at 5,000 members in 2 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. You know.
You certainly sort of tapped into a demand for something, right? Because before elite skiing, you're right. I don't really know what there was before that in terms of seeing such quality images of skiing around, from all over the world. In fact, and you're right. The growth was massive. All of a sudden, just like 0 to whatever, in no time at all. Was that surprising to you?
Oh yes, yeah. I figured, might have 1,000 members someday.
Yeah.
So, and I think we had 1,000 in a week and a half. It's crazy. You were one of the first people to join, as I recall.
Oh really? Oh okay. Well, that's good to know.
I think May 11th you joined. I think we started it on May 9th. So you were very, very early.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, good for me. I'm sure I was invited by someone else. I don't think I just stumbled across it. But I think I've got my friend Ali to thank for that. But that's amazing. Okay, and now you're at how many sort of members of the group are there now? There's an extraordinary number of people follow it.
Yeah, 34,500.
34. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, and if we were a group like over here, we have Pug Ski, where people like to talk and discuss and argue over every little detail. We couldn't do that with 34,000 members.
No.
It's people have to be more selective, and we of the posts submitted to us, we only put about 20% of them on the page.
All right.
So that's bad because people can't get something on there just because they like it, but it allows me to really put the best stuff on, and I really try to do that. And the video clips are terrific. The historical aspects of skiing, a few people complain about that, but most people really seem to enjoy that. And I didn't see that coming. And the other thing I didn't see coming was the still images. Sometimes, some days I just say, "Oh my God!" I got 3 images today, and they're all stunning. And that's why I started changing out our cover photo at the top every 3 or 4 days to give them more exposure. So.
Oh, I see. All right. Oh, that's good. I find that one of the I have to say I find that one of the most strange things. It doesn't so much happen in the winter. It seems to be a summer thing, but how there is this kind of there's a sort of retro element to elite skiing, where there's people posting this kind of historical stuff that some of us have probably never seen, and I don't. There's often the question posted, I think, underneath some of these is like, is this elite or what does it mean? But it looks to me that you use that just for, I don't know, filling space in the summer or something. I'm not sure how that squares off with the notion of eliteness.
Well, it was elite 40 and 50 years ago. So,
yeah.
And it is whenever I've surveyed the members, it is one of the most loved parts of elite skiing. but it's not for everybody. But then World Cup racing isn't for everybody.
No, that's true.
And jumping off cliffs isn't for everybody. And so it's just kind of a mix. And I wish I could tell you the formula that I use, but there isn't one. It's just kind of, oh, this looks good, and let's post it. And,
yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. So from my, so listener, you may my daughter is actually going to bed right now. So she is. If you hear anything in the background, that's what that is.
Okay.
Okay. So from I suppose with that, there's a few things that come with that, right? So you've got, all of a sudden you're to 34,500 members, and I've noticed amongst the comments, so I'm trying to spend less and less time on Facebook in general, but elite skiing is one of the things that I go on there for. But I've noticed that with 34,500 members, you're getting, I don't know, it looks like to me that the comments are getting harder the comment section is getting harder and harder to manage. You know, it looks like there's more trolling going on. There's more kind of people just kind of winding each other up. You know, I've put it in here as a thought bubble, but it says, you know, the arguing. How do you keep a handle on that? Because that must be difficult to manage, no?
Well, we about 5 months into the group, we had a group of people that knew each other, and they literally tried to take the group over. And
okay.
They did not have the same goal in mind that I had. They loved the arguing and name calling and profanities and posting nudes. And I finally got to a point, and everybody told me when I started this that I had to let this be free, that whatever happens, happens. And I was to go with that. But it was just turning into something I was embarrassed by.
Yeah.
So just late one night, I just started deleting. I deleted posts, comments, and members. And I sometimes warned them, depending on the severity of what they did. Sometimes I didn't warn them. I just deleted them. And everyone told me, you know, the page was going to collapse and die, and it took off like a rocket.
Yeah.
It turned out that there were all these people who were interested in civil discourse, who wanted to be able to talk without the fear of being accosted. And again, in the surveys we've done, that's what we keep hearing. You know, thank you for keeping that element out.
Yeah.
And we write, you know, I think I've got, I looked a moment ago, I think there's 68 people trying to join the group from last night.
What? Really?
You know, I'll probably end up accepting half of them.
Well, you vet them on the basis that they are skiers or obvious skiers?
Skiers. Sometimes there are people who were longtime skiers and now they're incapacitated and they want to stay in touch, and I always allow them.
Yeah, for sure.
But my gosh, the people from South Vietnam, North Vietnam, Pakistan, Central Africa, you know, it's not hard to figure that what their motives are. They're trying to spam a lot of people because of our group size. And, you know, I just won't let them into the group.
Yeah, I can see that. You mentioned earlier, like you sort of alluded to having a goal for the group. What if you had to state it? What is the goal for the group? You know, where does it go really from here?
Well, the goal, I think, and it's worked for me, even just watching it, is just to take it from a local experience to make it a worldwide experience. I had no idea there were 2 ski areas in South Africa when I started this. And it's interesting because with South America and Australia and New Zealand, the growth of the group does not slow down in summer. It's so consistent. You know, and here we are. We're looking at spring skiing, in South America, and the startup glacier skiing in Europe right now. So it just keeps going and going. It's continuous when you get a worldwide view.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but in terms of the overall goal is just to kind of keep the group going with images, video, awareness of what is perceived to be really, really good skiing.
Yeah, and I've talked with some of my buddies too about starting to do some maybe do some events. We haven't. I frankly haven't had the time to get too much into that. We're going to do a local. There's within about 100 miles of me. I think there's 350 members.
All right.
And we're going to set up a local ski area here, Mount Spokane, that has night skiing.
Oh, cool.
Oh, it'll be an afternoon dinner and night skiing event of some sort. So I want to start bringing some of these people together, taking advantage of the group. We almost did a trip to Argentina this year, but it was just too little, too late to try and do something. So that's kind of on the horizon.
Oh, amazing! So sort of localized meetups for elite skiing members.
We could do international ones, like in Canada. I don't know if you've heard of this. Western Canada, there's a road that services a lot of the major ski areas, and they call it the Powder Highway. And where I live, it would be real easy to do a week tour skiing, 7 ski areas, 5 to 7 ski areas in a week's time, just traveling a bus from area to area.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of stuff. As far as the group size, for a period of time, that was kind of a goal. But where we're now, that is no longer a goal. Whatever it ends up being, it ends up being.
Okay.
We don't need more members, but if people who are interested and qualified want to join, there's no objection to it growing. So.
And do you and so in addition to that, didn't you? As I understand it, you spun off a website off of it, and there's a few other bits and pieces going on there.
Well, yes, we did. We did the website, and they both kind of started, but the Facebook page just was more demanding of the time because of the growth. So the web page has become kind of a repository of like our 18 members, a bio on them. I'm always trying to look to the future in skiing to try and figure out, where we're going to be in 5 years. This is a personal me. And I have always been intrigued with what, is usually called racers free skiing. I look at the World Cup racers, and to me, they are the most qualified skiers athletically, the most qualified skiers because of their physical condition. They're on the latest and best equipment, usually on a perfect slope, and especially when it's in slow motion, to really watch what they're doing. If I was the head of an instructor association, I would have an annual review of a bunch of these and then use that to help instructors in the association have a goal for their skiing and for others.
How do you? Let's say that is, and I'm just arguing the devil's advocate position here, because whenever I'm listening to podcasts, I always want to. I hear someone say something and I go, I wish that the interviewer would say that. So I suspect there's probably a few people who want me to say, well, racers free skiing might be looking for something different to what a ski instructor is looking for. Let's say a racer is free skiing, they might be looking for, pressure above the fall line, a slightly different turn shape. They might be looking to get a lot of the turn done up high. Whereas you're sort of, ski instructor turn is a different type of turn, right? You can't really be teaching racing turns to regular clients. I'm just putting that there because it just occurred to me. That's all.
Yeah, and one of the things, in fact, I had a message this morning from a long-term Austrian member, and he was telling me that in his view, the Austrian, this wasn't posted to the Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
that Austrians teach people to make good turns in all terrain, and that's not so in other countries. And I don't know if I agree with him. I don't think so. But when I see these World Cup racers making some of these turns, there's such an economy of motion and such efficient skiing.
Yeah.
An instructor, a racer is trying to accelerate, and an instructor is trying to control their speed.
Yeah.
And not necessarily accelerate. So, there's a bit of a contradiction there. But I find when I'm riding the lift that if somebody skiing underneath me catches my eye, that it's usually a racer of some sort or somebody with a strong racing background.
Yeah, I agree with you on the economy of movement thing. I think that's a really, really good way of phrasing it. They do just enough at any given time.
Right.
I'm thinking of, there's been a couple actually who puts out some quite good ones of the Dave. I'm British, so hopefully, yeah, Dave Riding's ones. He put a couple up that were just extraordinary in terms of kind of only just doing exactly enough for what he wanted at that time. I thought they were really eye-opening, those turns. And actually some of the really, really big names you don't get to see free skiing that much. I'd love to see some Marcel Hirscher free skiing, but those days are gone, I think.
I don't know where those videos are. Yeah. I've been looking for videos.
Well, unless he was so good by the end of it that actually he probably just went up, did his runs, and then just went straight home. Maybe he doesn't free ski.
Yeah.
There's a few of Kristoffersen, right?
Have you ever seen a clip of Ingemar Stenmark free skiing?
No, I haven't.
Current one? No, I haven't either.
No. There's some of Jean-Claude Killy skiing powder, isn't there, somewhere? Some old footage.
Right.
But that was, that shows you that good skiers are good skiers through it, down the ages for sure. But yeah, I just thought that was, you're right in terms of to watch a good racing skier, they're just turning just enough to keep whatever speed that they want and no more than that. I think that's a really, really valid point. You often see some extra movement or what looks like movement patterns, built-in movement patterns in some of these kind of high-end ski instructors to videos.
Right.
They're skiing with a certain style. I'm thinking of the videos that are coming out of the Southern Hemisphere and maybe some of the Japanese, Korean skiers. They're skiing in a certain style, whereas the racers, they're just kind of doing just enough. And it's funny how much race technique doesn't differ from country to country.
Right. Yeah. Well, the objective there is not to look a certain way; it's to finish first.
Yeah,
so
that's right. That's right.
They're all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing that, very, very much so. Here I had a really great chat with Terry. It's always funny doing a podcast with someone that you've never met before, but we got on really, really well, and I think he had a lot of. You can tell that he's sort of got a lot of great history in skiing. He's obviously skied a lot. He's been in and around the industry, and it was really, really nice to chat to him about all of the things that he's seen. it was great to hear about the start of the elite skiing group, and very much we carried on in that vein. So there's lots of other questions that I had for him, and then the conversation moved around a little bit, and we got talking about various other topics in mogul skiing, technical tests, which skiing styles and stuff that he likes. So there's much more here to listen to in the second half. I hope you enjoy it. Coming up, I'm just setting up the date now. I'm hoping to get Jonathan Ballou from the PSIA as the next one. I'm hoping to speak to him late on in October. So I'm very much looking forward to that one also. But for now, enjoying the rest of the second half, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Tell me more about this A-team members thing, because I kind of seen it, but I brushed over it. I never really looked into what it is. How does that work? What is it?
Well, we, because of all the videos I'd watched before I started the group, there were certain people like Riley McClash and Paul Lorenz, Jonathan Ballou from the U.S., one of my favorites is Stefano Bellingheri from Italy. People that, I play the video, I just think, oh my God, that is so beautiful. Oh, I tried, because, if you're a World Cup racer, you always know how good you are by where you're ranked every year. And for international skiers and instructors, there's nothing like that. So the idea was to just identify some of these people, give them credit for what they can do, and to encourage them to continue to produce really good videos. One of the things from a teaching standpoint, one of the things that I like the best, and hardly anyone shoots that way, is from the rear. If I'm trying to figure out what a really good skier is doing, if somebody is skiing 7 or 8 meters behind them, then it's really easy to see exactly what they're doing. But nobody ever wants to film that way. I told this to Riley McClash a couple of years ago, and he has produced several videos now shooting from there, and it's terrific.
It's fun. Well, I hate to blow my own trumpet, but I shoot pretty much all my video of clients from behind, because you can see everything. You see everything. Yeah. They don't necessarily like it because they're being filmed from behind, and I'm sort of following them down the hill. And some of the young guns that we're teaching now, I mean, my God, you can barely keep up with them. But and it's quite hard to do that holding a camera. But you see, it's so easy to see where things are going wrong or right from behind, because you see the setup for the turn.
Exactly.
You can see everything, like you see transition setup, and then how they drop themselves into the turn, and that it's a real eye opener. You can be really predictive with the camera from behind to say, well, this turn will be good. You'll have a good outcome from this one because X, and this turn might not be as good. You can almost you can tell what's going to come. Just looking at as to how they've set the turn up. It's a really useful tool, and I think more. Often in lessons I'll follow clients around, just to see what I need to see, and I see more from behind than from in front. I think often.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so 18 members. So is there how does one become an 18 member? Apart from a million views on YouTube and whatever else.
Usually they have to be a national demo team member. And I think the last time we checked was for the 2015 Interski. We compared the team lists against our member lists, and we usually have 80 to 90% of the demo team members, national demo team members in elite skiing.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was a goal of ours.
Mm-hmm.
Initially. We've achieved that. And it's kind of funny because you get one, and then you get two, and then all of a sudden you get 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 just in a rush. And then the only ones that don't seem to join are the ones that are not on Facebook.
Yeah. Okay.
So to answer your question, we kind of picked that based on the product they're putting out. It would be nice if we could ski with them all, but we're not able to do that. And we like JF Ballou in Canada is one of our favorites. It's been interesting. I remember seeing his videos, 8, 9 years ago, and to see how much he has improved in that period of time, and he was fabulous back then. Just studying the changes they're making, one of the things I ask the A-team members to do is, so often they'll stand at the top of the hill and say, okay, I'm going to make 10 short turns. And they do 10 short turns. And then they stop and they think, well, okay, I'll make 10 medium radius turns. And it's almost like they take one chip out of their brain and put another chip in.
Yeah.
And going back to the Swiss demonstrator from 2015 that you were talking about, what I encourage these people to do is to show flexibility and to never make more than 3 medium radius or 3 short radius turns and then switch into something else. I think that keeps you in a good neutral body position. If you can do that, it shows a person being very dynamic. And JF Ballou now has started to do this with some of his last clips, and it's fabulous to watch.
The Swiss have something in their final skiing exam, which is called the free run, which I think would be, I'd love to see more sort of videos of free run. I've actually got some in a Dropbox somewhere of all the Swiss tests that they have to do. I'll make sure I send it over to you.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, and one of them, so this thing called the free run, you have to make 4 long turns. This is all on slalom skis, so you turn up on slalom skis. 4 short turns, 4 long turns, 4 turns switch, carving switch, that is. And you have to, and you have to go in and out of those turns from going forward to going backwards in a different way each time. So you can 180 in, you can slide it, and then you have to kind of jump 180 out or whatever. And you do this on a kind of red steepness pitch of a certain length. And so it's a real test or blend to show people what you can do. And they describe it as, they sort of say to you, well, this is your business card. So you, with this free run, you show us what you can do. And you have complete freedom of expression. I think it's a really cool test, and it's marked out of 6. And the other one that they have, which you have posted, I'm sure you have, on Elite Skiing, is a video of Damien Franson doing what they call the corridor test, the couloir test.
Yeah, Canadians do a lot of corridors.
Yeah, so this one's variable. So it starts off, so it can be variations of narrow corridor, medium corridor, wide corridor, but it can be in any order. And you've got to carve your turns within these various radius corridors. And so let's say you're doing, let's say they open you up with mediums and you're doing medium carved turns. And the idea is to get as close to the brushes on the outside as you dare without going over them. And you lose marks if you go over them. And so you're carving these turns, and then you'll go from a medium to a long, which arguably is possible. It's not that bad. But then they'll tighten the corridor right up into shorts. And so you've got to manage that big pressure coming off of a left or right footed long turn, then bam, straight into a bunch of short carving turns in a narrow corridor, a 4-meter corridor. And that is one of the simplest, but it's one of the hardest skiing tests I've ever had to do. It's absolutely extraordinary. And it was a real eye opener as to how they make the Swiss look so agile. It's because they give them all these kind of crazy tests to do. As well as all the other stuff that they do with Swedish turns, Norwegian turns, flick flacks, whatever. We got short term variations they call it, and I think it's those things where you can see the skier doing a whole bunch of blended stuff is much more valid than just watch me go down this slope doing short turns.
And the thing I like too in watching free skiing is if they vary the radius of the turn, like a decreasing radius turn, increasing radius turn.
Yeah.
Instead of locking into a 15.5 meter turn radius.
Yeah, that's right.
For the whole. One of the things when I first started paying attention to the Canadians, they were doing a thing in not a horribly steep mogul field, say a medium steepness mogul field, where they wanted the instructors to do GS turns in a mogul field.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that was interesting to watch.
I've tried to do that once or twice in my life. It's not moguls aren't my specialty, but wow, it's a hell of a test, right?
Yep. I think that shows a certain level of skill that most people don't have. That would be a Canadian CSIA level 4 skier at a minimum.
Well, I had heard that the Canadians in their ski instructor examination, maybe it's the 4 and or whatever, but when it comes to bumps, who was it who told me this? Someone told me this, and it wasn't. It's unconfirmed. So shoot me down if I've got it wrong. But in their bumps part of their exam, you have complete freedom. So you can take it to a mogul field and you go where you want. Right, so you pick your own line and you express yourself. And a lot of other examination systems, Swiss included, who I rave about all the time, but Swiss included, they ski a zip line, which they make themselves. Hang on. Don't want to speak to that guy. Let me just block him. Okay, so so this Canadian, as I understand it, the Canadian ski instructor bumps level exam, you can go where you want in the mogul field. Take it to a mogul field and go for it. With the Swiss, they'll make a zipline mogul field, zipline mogul thing, and it's just a case of trying to stay in. And it ends up always being the same thing with the British. And I think maybe the Irish, I'm not sure. It's what I heard. Is that you always end up doing a direct full line zip line, almost like a zip line descent. And I think there's more to moguls than that.
I hate zip lines.
Well, also there's like I say, it's nice to be able to express yourself on a mogul field. You go and there's a nice bump over there. I'm going to go and use that one and jump off it or whatever. There's more than one way to skin a cat than just going sort of straight down and hammering into the face of the bumps. I think.
One of my favorite mogul skiers in the world is Sebastian Michel. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Level 4. He's also a coach and a strong racing background. And he has a playful way of coming through the bumps like nobody else I've ever seen. And I just I watch him all the time.
Yeah. And that's nice to see, isn't it? Like, it's really, really nice to see. I saw a guy. There's a guy who's in Val d'Isère. He's quite sort of. He's a lovely guy. He was on one of the level 4 British exams that I did. A guy called Giles Lewis. Hello to you, Giles, if you're out there. But he is the most extraordinary mogul skier I've ever seen live, and he was just toying with the bumps. He'd arrive at the top of a bump, and you could see him decide which way to go. And it's just extraordinary what that guy could do. I've never seen anyone quite as at home in the bumps as that. And it wasn't just a zip that he was skiing, It wasn't just a straight line. He'd thought, there's one over there, I'll go over there, and kind of really play around with them. And that's much nicer to see than just kind of...
They can handle whatever they come across. That's what I like.
Yeah, I agree.
Sebastian Michel is... He is in the air 20% of the time in a mogul field. Yeah. So cool to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's lovely to see that. It's lovely to see. I wish we could see more videos like that of people kind of playing with moguls. That will be my request to you for elite skiing content. Is I want more. I want less less potted kind of short turns and more kind of playful mogul skiing, please.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
All for it.
Good.
And for agility,
Yeah.
One of the things that one of the racers I've always liked the most was Bodie Miller, because he looked like he could ski into a snowcat at 60 miles an hour and absorb it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so loose and structured. And, again, like the Swiss demo team guy in 2015, I love that when they use the whole body to absorb. And, they're just not structured, not overly stiff.
There's not many wild guys left on the World Cup, is there? I don't think you can do it like that anymore. I suppose the closest would be Manny Fella, maybe. He's pretty crazy. He has quite a unique style. He doesn't finish many races. It's like he's actually one of my favourites. I don't know why I'm going to watch the World Cup anymore, because Marcel Hirsch is not in anymore. So might give it. I'll be tuning in for the Manny Fella show, I think, this year.
Right.
Cool. So I want to let me see. Let's take it slightly. One last question to do with elite skiing. How do you still moderate the comments? Like now, there must be an awful number of comments on each one, and I thought the most ridiculous one that I saw the other day, I don't know who you were, but there's a picture of it. It might be Sofia Goggia or whatever, in the middle of downhill, one hand on the floor, other hand up in the air, like cranking it over on something really gnarly, sheet ice, whatever. And there'll be a guy on there who goes, "Oh, this is bad skiing," and he'll critique it based on one frame in the middle of a thing. Everyone's just like, "What are you talking about?" Do you moderate any of that, or is that just you just kind of leave it to itself these days?
Well, it really is a 24-hour thing, because our members come from 101 countries.
Right.
So, I can't stay up 24 hours a day. So sometimes I wake up and I think, "Oh my God, how did this happen? Where are they going with this?" And I don't understand. And the thing I keep saying on the page, because most of these people who are acting like they're experts, seriously, they have zero credentials. We've got World Cup coaches on there. There are people in that group that are not disguising their name, but I don't want to publicize that they're in there because everybody's going to start pestering them on Messenger. But man, the best skiers in the world are on there. National team coaches are on there. National Ski Instructor Association clinicians are on there, and they never participate in that stuff.
No.
So I don't get it. How you can take, let's see, the Italian girl skier that was just on the edge about a week ago.
Yeah.
Had her in the cover photo too, and it was a beautiful shot. And people were critiquing her, and I think, how can you do that?
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so I do occasionally delete those.
Okay, but it must be a tough job to keep up with those these days. I imagine there's a few that slip through the net.
Those long threads accomplish nothing except start arguments.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And sometimes I just have to. There's so much to delete. I just delete the whole post.
Oh right.
And go on.
You can't disable the comments. That's not possible.
Very often.
It's not possible to disable the comments for certain things.
Yeah, I can. And the only one I do that on right now is global warming.
Oh, cool. There's a can of worms.
First of all, we don't allow politics.
Yeah.
But if somebody posts before and after pictures of a glacier receding,
yeah,
I'll post that, disable the comments.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to accomplish anything except make a bunch of people angry.
Yeah, for sure. That's like that, along with US politics, is probably the most polarizing thing ever, isn't it? That and Brexit, which is yet again come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, three things at the moment, which is you just can't have a reasonable discussion about all. And it's a shame that it's a shame. It's gone out of a lot of general life. Is that people can't, even agree to disagree, right? It's like you hold a different view from me, fine, not a big deal. We don't have to fall out about it. It's very strange, very, very strange. I don't really know where that's come from in society, but it's not a good thing.
Well, I think it comes from. I think in a lot of cases, it comes from people who probably can't do it real well, but feel like they can critique others. It's kind of a thing. My first brush with skiing greatness was a guy who he came to Bridger Bowl, and I worked for this terrific ski shop in the fall, and he was a rep for the Olin skis, Olin, when they came out.
Yeah.
And he got there late. They were thinking of carrying the skis in the ski shop, and they wanted me to go up and try them. And so this guy, I should have had a clue with his accent, but we ended up going to the top of Bridger Bowl. I've got the comp version. He's got the standard version. There were only two at the time. And we've got flat light moguls that are so huge, you couldn't see people from uphill sometimes.
Yeah.
And we get to the top, and he said, "Well, which way should we go?" And I said, "Well, probably down there."
Yeah.
And he took off right down the fall line, and it just blew my mind. Well, it turns out he was a former Swiss downhiller, and a very modest guy. So he really put me in my place. But,
yeah. It's always the quiet ones, isn't it? It's always the quiet ones that are good.
Quiet ones.
Yeah, the best guys on my local hill are, you don't hear them bragging about how good they are. Put it that way. And it's funny because in every Swiss village this must be the same. I imagine it's the same in the French villages and Austrians as well. There's few guys you've never heard of who absolutely tear the mountain to pieces. In terms of how good they are. And yeah, you just wouldn't. They just, I don't know, just go about it in a fairly normal way. The guy who looks after all my insurances for the ski school now and my house and all that sort of stuff, it's an extraordinary skier, but you never hear him talk about it. It's
right. Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
All right, I've got one last thing for you then, because I know you're a bit pressed for time, and I don't want to keep you over where we go. But you've got, you see a lot of skiing on elite skiing. It's clear to me that you're kind of very interested in the different skiing styles from around the world, and we've talked about World Cup and how it looks very similar, because that's the result of what they're trying to achieve. But in terms of national styles, there's a very clear difference, I'd say, between what comes out of the East, what comes out of the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand, Australia, what comes out of Europe, even what comes out of kind of individual countries in Europe. And I'm curious to know if you have like a favorite aesthetic style or your thoughts on that, really.
Well, I guess I've kind of probably said most of that already. I don't know if it's individuals or countries. I prefer efficiency. I like to tell people when I'm working with them that modern skiing is so simple it's hard to understand, because we have the people who have been doing this for a long time and they just want to make it more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
Literally put the outside ski up on edge, position your body to hold it there, change the radius of your turn with slight movements, and the one that just sends me literally off a cliff is when someone says, "Well, he's dragging his uphill pole." Oh my God, who cares? Hirscher uphill pole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You've hit on
something. With the edges.
Yeah, you've hit on something very, very interesting there, because I hear a lot of people. They still. No, that's wrong to say. Not a lot of people. Some people are still stuck in the old days
They are. Yep.
And I did something. I was doing some media stuff for my own ski school, which would be released in the autumn, and you're talking about how simple it is to get modern skis to turn,
right,
compared to how it was, let's say, when you were in Europe in 1984.
Right.
Your skis are 2.20 meters long. There's straight edges. You had to do up unweighting. You had to kind of wait till you had to do this kind of upward motion, otherwise the skis wouldn't go round. There was all sorts of stuff that you had to do back then, that now is just a question of rolling your edges from one set of edges to the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's never been easier to learn how to ski. And really, the participation numbers should be shooting up because it's so easy, but they're not. For whatever reason, I think it's probably more due to price than anything. But you do still see some people teaching this kind of extension movement all the time, and so there's a place for that and a time for that. But most of the time, for what most people ski, which is on the piste, it's literally how do I get my body from one side of the skis to the other,
rolling from edge to edge.
Yeah, it's never been easier to ski.
One of the things we put a lot of thought into, myself and my buddies, when I was putting the group together, was just kind of a tagline. What it was that we were in favor of, and this goes back to a question you asked early on. And after numerous changes, we came up with high performance technical. We thought, we don't want to talk about skiing at 15 miles an hour down an easy hill. That, for most people, that doesn't hold much interest. So we want it to be high performance, and we want it to be technical, to be doing the right thing, to be efficient. And so we sometimes refer to that as HPTS as an acronym.
Okay.
But that's really kind of at the core of what I believe, and what we're trying to show, I guess, to people around the world.
So you don't have a preference. For you, it's just kind of, if it's aesthetic and it looks, it's highly technical, that's good for you. One of the,
I've always really admired the way the really good French skiers ski. They're loose. They seem to be more concerned about what their skis are doing than what their body is doing. And this, I saw Keeley and Sean's race at Jackson Hole in the late '60s, and but there is no media available on them. Nothing.
I know.
I scanned YouTube. I can't find anything, and I'm not even sure if they fielded a team for the last two interskis.
No. That's true. That's criminal, isn't it? I mean, they dropped out of ISIA for whatever reason, along with the Austrians. Although the Austrians sent some sort of independent delegation, apparently, but the French definitely aren't there because they're not in ISIA anymore, which is which is just such a shame, because they ski beautifully. They really, really do. They're free, There's such touch on the snow. It's a real, it's a real thing.
I think the group that I really appreciate that probably don't get enough press are the Australians. Man, their demo team. But I just love what those guys are doing. They seem to be taking from everybody.
Yeah.
Because being a counter seasoned country. They have a lot of influences coming in from other countries, and it's amazing. Yeah, I think some of their demo, primarily from the 2015 Interski, a lot of their stuff is really, really good. And again, Paul Lorenz, Riley McClashin, those guys. And right now, both of them are in Japan in our winter, and Australia or New Zealand in the summer. So
yeah. For me, those guys, I don't know them, so I can only comment on what I've seen online. Is I wonder if those guys, I know that Paul does. He's heavily into those Japanese technical tests, isn't he? And and for me, they've gone a little bit too far in the other direction. So their skiing looks a little bit too much. Well, too much. It looks a lot like, you know, what you would expect to see out of skiing coming out of the east, as opposed to, you know, for me, it's kind of swung too much in that direction for it to be what you say is an Australian style. But it might not be the Australian style in general. It might just be what those two guys are doing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't hear part of that.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, don't worry. Everyone else will.
Yeah, that Akao Maruyama, I think that's his name, from Japan. Boy, he is so strong and athletic. He's an amazing skier.
Yeah.
And the South Koreans and the Japanese, it seems like 5 years ago, they were really banking, really lifting their outside arm very high.
Yeah, that's changed a lot, hasn't it?
It seems like they're moderating that now, so I prefer it much more. You know, they seem to be more angulated.
Yeah. In a previous podcast with Ali McGrain, he was saying that he thought that say something like the PSIA was set up, you know, the national style had sort of developed because of the nature of the country, if you like, because of the nature of the snow that we have in various different places. He was saying that PSIA has kind of developed how it's developed because often the clients want to ski off-piste, or because you've got all this sort of controlled off-piste area, there's not so much of a huge focus on piste skiing. There's more of a high focus on kind of a generalist sort of all-mountain style that will get you around. And maybe that's how these national styles kind of develop to be different.
That could be, yeah. Yep.
No, for sure. All right, cool. What I'm going to do, I've also run out of questions, but I've certainly kind of explored all the things I want to do, and I'm conscious that, you know, I don't want to take up...
One other thing I'd like to add.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
For me, and we have it on our website, which is eliteskiing.com. And something else I was first really made aware of by the Canadians, the CSIA. And PSIA does a little bit, but the phrase drills for skills.
Yeah.
My personal belief is that just skiing is only going to make you so much better. But if you start doing drills to really focus on different parts of the turn, different skills, and nothing else, that is going to accelerate your rate of becoming a better skier. But ski, as a rule, they don't want to slow down and do drills for skills, do Christies across the hill or anything like that. They just want to ski.
Yep.
My one buddy here, who's a former racer, he in the last 5 years he has really adopted this approach that he does 2 to 3 warm-up runs at the start of the day with a lot of focus on drills for skills. And he, at our local area, without a doubt, is the best skier right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that's another resource on that elite skiing. Whenever I find a good drills for skills clip, I put it on there.
Oh, really? So there's a whole bunch of kind of free resource of I say free. I don't know whether Elite Skiing's a subscription site or not.
It's all free.
Oh, that's very generous of you. That's fine. No, that's really good, because it's always useful to have a resource of decent drills here and there. I kind of rely. I do use drills with clients sometimes when there's a need for it, but a lot of the time I will look to try and explain myself as best as possible first, to try and get there that way, and then, you know, start people. Then if that's not working, then I'll sort of resort to drills, if you like, to kind of, you know, attaching poles to people and all sorts of bits and pieces. So, but there is a place for it for sure. And if there's a resource which I didn't know about, so this will be useful for all the ski instructors that listen. You know, a bunch of drills all in one place, then we can go and visit there and have a look at them. That's brilliant. I didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so let's, at the end of all of these, I say, well, where can people either find you or find the thing that you are doing? In this instance, I guess it would be Elite Skiing, would it?
Yeah, Messenger. Messenger is great. I love it. seem to stay in contact with people all over the world
Okay.
that way.
Do you prefer that people come to you through Messenger on your own Messenger or Elite Skiing Messenger? I guess it probably doesn't have.
Well, let's see. I'm not even sure.
Well, they'll find you. They'll find you some way. I'll add it as a link in the notes of the show anyway.
If I go to Elite Skiing and hit Messenger, I think it'll come to me.
Yeah. If not, they'll find you. They'll find you as the boss of it. So Elite Skiing on Facebook, and then eliteskiing.com is the website.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look.
We're going to do more with that in the future, but right now it's just kind of a repository of good clips and bios on the A team and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. So really appreciate your time today. And yeah, look, I wish you the best of luck with the group and the site. I think it's an absolutely wonderful thing for skiers all over the world.
Yeah, thank you. And it's kind of interesting to just call time out and think about all this stuff instead of just doing it one after another. So yeah, I appreciate this.
Well, no, look, it's nice to hear the voice of the guy behind it also. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yes, sir. Well, this has been fun.